It's 1:30 Central Time, so we're going to get started. We'd like to welcome you all here today. We're so grateful that you're part of this meeting, and we have some, Kelly and Linda have prepared a great 90-minute session for you. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions at the end or throughout, really. You can raise your hand. Jennifer will go over all the housekeeping items in a bit, but I just want to first just go through a few slides about HUG, and specifically at the beginning here our sponsors that kind of help these meetings be possible, and all HUG activities for that matter. So real quick, Insure Zone, Blue Jay, Lightspeed, Insured Mine, Mythos Technology, Unstoppable Profit Producers, Agave, CoverDesk, Agencies, Simply Easier Payments, Insurance Agent App, and Cova Insurance, Agency Revolution, and Agency Transformation have sponsored all 7 of our sessions this fall. And then Levitate and IMT Insurance have chosen to sponsor this particular session. So we'd like to thank them, and I encourage you to reach out to them when the opportunity arises. And I will be sending you all a little bit about their company and their contact information, so you can do that. Linda, next slide.
Okay, now my arrow key is not working, so there we go.
Okay, that's okay. I can speak to this.
No.
I should have probably introduced myself at the beginning, but here it is now. My name is Amelia Yack. I work for the HawkSoft user group. I'm the events and marketing manager for them. And then Jennifer Thompson also works part-time with HUG, and she runs all these technical webinars and those special projects, and she works from Wisconsin and I work from Colorado. And if you ever have any questions about the HUG organization, here's our contact information. You can take a little screenshot of that if you want, and just reach out at any time. We're happy to help however we can. Linda, next slide. Thank you. By now, you are all HUG members if you are on this call, but if you've never been to our website, I encourage you to do that. This is the web address, and there is most of our webinars and a lot of content is just accessible on the web, right on the website, but there is one section that is a members only content section that's got some great resources. So if you have never taken the chance to set up a login, a username and password for that, go ahead and do that sometime this week while you're thinking about it. And then next slide, Jennifer. Linda. That's good. You're good. And then same with the Facebook page. We do have I should have gotten that call, so this might be somebody trying to get in, but that's okay. We have a Facebook page for the HUG group. Go ahead and raise your hand if you are on the Facebook page, if you know how to do that. Awesome. If you have a Facebook account but you've never become a member of the HawkSoft user group Facebook page, I encourage you to do that. There's a lot of great information. There's resources there, and then it's just a great chance to ask a question and get a response from a peer, and it's a wonderful resource. And lastly, if you were registered for our National Conference in Orlando this year and you rolled over your registration to next year, we have you registered. But if you haven't yet done that and you'd like to attend, we'd love to see you in San Diego, April 7th to the 9th at the Town and Country Hotel. Recently completely renovated from the ground up on all public spaces. It's very cool. And this is the link to register for the conference. And we hope to see you there in person next year. Now I'm going to turn the time over to Jennifer to go over some housekeeping items before we get started with Kelly and Linda. Thanks, you guys, for being here again.
Thanks, Amelia. Just a few housekeeping items. Number one, we are trying to make this as much of an interactive session as we possibly can, so it's a little bit more like we're in person. And one of the ways you can do that is by turning on your video if you happen to have it. It's not required, but if you do have a video camera and feel comfortable with that, we invite you to turn it on so we can see your face. We also have the ability to use your microphone to listen to this or to dial in through the phone. And so if you're having any problems during the webinar and you can't hear the speaker very clearly, I would suggest calling in on the phone, because usually it's much clearer that way and you don't have any blips if your internet's doing anything. One other thing that we want to make sure, this is probably the most important part, is we limited it to 25 to 30 people for this session because we want you to be able to talk and say things out loud and ask questions out loud. So one of the things I want to make sure all of you do is that when you're in your screens, at the bottom there's a button that's called Participants. So if you can click and make sure that that's up, that's going to bring up a list of all the people who are attending today. And then there's also a button that says Chat. And so if you could click on that, that'll bring up the chat log where you can type something in. And what we want you to pay attention to is that if you have a question at some point, we'd like you to click on the button that says raise your hand. It looks like a little blue hand, and you click on it and it pops up your hand, and then we'd like you to also unmute yourself. And the way you unmute yourself is to go over to the icon next to your name that either looks like a microphone or a phone, and it'll have a red slash through it. That means you're muted. So click on that icon, and there will be a button that pops up that says unmute. So if you can go to that icon and try it, everyone can try it right now if you want. Unmute yourself, but then please put yourself back on mute. So you click on that button again, and it goes back to mute. And the biggest problem with this is if you step away and you're on the phone and we get to hear your hold music, or if you have a customer, or if you're viewing this with your coworkers and you're chatting, sometimes that can get picked up if you're not on mute. So raising your hand to ask a question, we will pause every once in a while and call on you, and then you should be unmuted by that point, and we will let you ask your question out loud. If you really don't feel comfortable doing that, raising your hand or asking your question out loud, you can pop it into the chat message, and I'll try to monitor those. And then as we pause, I'll read them out loud to the presenters. And I think that's it. Well, let's go to our next slide. Our presenters today are Kelly Endicott, who is one of the HUG board members, and she's also an agency owner at John Dawson and Associates out of Ohio. And then Linda Anderson of HawkSoft, she's one of the senior territory managers out of Ohio as well. Thanks, guys.
Welcome.
Well, welcome everybody. Thanks, Jennifer and Amelia, for all you do and for helping make these things run very smoothly, at least until Linda and I get a hold of them. And then we'll see what we can do. All right, guys. So 90 minutes of tips and tricks is what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and incorporate, for those of you that completed the survey, we're going to try and incorporate some of those questions and pain points as we go through. So kind of pay attention to those and make sure that if we don't address your pain point throughout, or your wish list or your favorite tips and tricks, we'll cover it at the end. We're going to try and kind of slow everything down at the hour point, and then we're just going to go into a general question and answer session. I think Linda and I are pretty much game for just about anything in the Q&A. If we don't know the answer, we'll definitely do our best to find an answer for you. Keep in mind too that a lot of these sessions, we're going to take away some ideas, and we're going to feed those ideas back to home office and see if some of your wish lists, if we can't make it happen here, we'll see if they can't work on it there in development. So keep that in mind as we move through here. I am going to queue up Linda for this, and we're going to get started. The first thing we want to talk about is on your survey. You guys are probably curious, of those of you who ranked yourselves, the average ranking of your skill level within HawkSoft was a 6. So not bad, actually pretty good. Something that we talk about often is power users, and our goal is to help you become a power user with webinars, with training videos, with all the resources that we offer. That's kind of the mission behind HUG, is to help you become a power user. To us, that definition is just simply that you begin and end all of your transactions within HawkSoft to make yourself efficient and consistent. We know it takes time to form those habits, but we at least want you to be aware of the tools that are out there to help you do that. So with that being said, I am going to get Linda on board here, and we're going to start talking about clicking versus keystrokes. So show of hands.
Oh, yes.
Why don't you guys, no problem. Why don't you guys tell me how many of you prefer using your mouse over your keyboard? You can raise your hands physically or virtually on the participation window. Okay. So with that, we want you to know that the choice for this is always yours. We know there's lots of preferences out there, so we're going to run through some of these transactions and show you how to maneuver through them, keyboard or mouse, your choice.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to deviate a little bit from PowerPoints and we're going to go into live demo presentations here. Many of you, and Kelly, did you get a lot of hands for mouse or a lot of hands for keyboard? Well, half and half. Okay, so we're sitting here on our welcome screen here, and we have a couple of ways to get to our suspenses. We can click on them here. We can click on them here, or you can hit the F2 key, or no, sorry, F3. You hit the F3 key, that automatically opens up your suspense list there. So that's one way to use your keyboard. What happens if you want to look for support, or what do I want to call your help? F1 is help. That's going to bring up your help in HawkSoft here, which opened up in another screen for me. So as you can see, F1 brings up your help screen. What if you want to get a client file in front of you? You can either click search or you can hit F2, and that will bring up your search box there. And as we look for a customer, we'll just type in a few letters of their name, hit search, and again, we're going to go to Jeremy's client file here and click OK. Notice that we're going to get into client tags and log notes here in just a minute, but I'm going to X out of that or dismiss that for right now. Let's say we wanted to do an activity in HawkSoft. Did you know that the Enter key equals bringing up your action menu? So you could click on the action menu. I always call it the lightning bolt, meaning we want to do something there, or you can hit your Enter key. Also, each one of these items, you notice some of the letters have underlines under them, like the W for walk-in, M for mail. That means they are keyboardable. So instead of clicking phone from insured and then going into a log like that, we could do that, put our notes in and hit OK. Or we could hit our Enter key, PFI, L, gets us right to our log note, okay? So if you like the keyboard or the mouse, either way is perfectly fine there as well. Kelly, any input on that, those types of things there?
I'm more curious to know how many of you guys knew about these and use these on a regular basis? The keystrokes versus the clicking. Okay. Nope, I think we're good on that. I just wanted to make sure that you guys, a lot of times when we do the mentoring program, as I start working on the keyboard, I prefer a keyboard versus the on and off of the mouse. And a lot of times I'll do something and everybody stops me and is like, how did you do that? So that's why we put it in our tips and tricks. Absolutely.
I want to cover a couple of things before, Kelly, we take that break for the Michelle's questions, if you don't mind, for just a quick second.
Sure.
When I clicked search here, how many of you know about the user preferences under search? So I'm not monitoring, so Kelly, let me know how many hands we're getting.
About 4 or 5 of them. Look like they raised their hand on that one.
Okay.
Yep.
So user preferences is how you, the agent, based on your role at the agency, want HawkSoft to perform for you. I'm going to X out of that for just a second. How many of when you log into a client file, the first screen you see is policies? Probably not very many of you, I'm guessing. How many the first screen you see is contacts? How many is it miscellaneous info or invoicing? Depending on your role at the agency or how you want to see the program when it logs, what makes the most sense for you, that's called a preference. So for example, when I log into a client file, I prefer to see like a synopsis of policies that I have written for that customer. And I do that, and that's a by user under user preferences, not to be confused with permissions. Your HawkSoft administrators are going to give you permission what you can and cannot do or see in the program, but preferences are user specific. So when we click on user preferences here, notice as we search for customers, how do I want to search for customers? Do I just want it to go automatically to the name or to the phone number? That's up to you. Or to their policy number or agency ID if you guys are using that. Do I want partial text checked or not checked? Do I want to open everything in a new tab, or do I want, if I open a new client file, do I want it to cover up the old client file that I just had open? So again, How do I want that to open there? Client type, customer type, status, things like that. Settings, you know, do I want spell check turned on or off? How do I want to launch those customer screens? Do I just want to show active policies? Do I want to show active and inactive, active, inactive, and archived? Again, what do I want to see when I immediately log into that client file? Do I want to see all log notes for all policies right away? Or do I just want to see them for a specific policy? This is where I was just telling you about those default client tabs. I've got mine set for policies, but I could change it to logs, contacts, miscellaneous info, or invoicing. So again, how do I need to see that? We're going to get into a lot of detail on attachments here in a little bit, but as you look at my attachment screen, it may be looking a little bit different than yours. I've got my attachments grouped by attachment type. And the reason I do that is because when I click on downloads, when I am looking at the downloads that have come in, I want all the downloads in chronological order in a very small space. So I see everything at once. So I'm not going down through a bunch of different attachments there. And we'll show you how that works in a little bit. I have mine collapsed so that the document management in HawkSoft is very concise there as well. And we can sort things as well there. Recent client count. Are you guys familiar with that area here? On the start page, recents, those are customers you've had open and you've closed out. You can have up to 16 on that list over there. So you can just quickly click on those and reopen those client files. Like if I clicked on Jeremy's client file here, that would just quickly open his back up again. So I didn't have to search for him at all. And I used to do that a lot when I was on your side of the desk managing an agency. I'd get done, close it out, and then go, oops, I need to do something else on that. Same thing with browsers, and I think browsers and HawkLink are going to be covered in another session, so we won't get to a lot of detail on that. Is that making sense to everybody? Any questions on preferences? Okay.
Not seeing any
Sounds pretty
questions
good.
at this time.
Okay.
This is Jennifer, and I'm just going to remind everybody, if you have a question, I'd like you to raise your hand on the participant panel, so that because I can't see everybody's face, even if you're on video all at one time very easily. So if you have a question, raise your hand on the participant panel and then unmute yourself. Lynette, I see that you have a question. Why don't you go ahead and unmute yourself for just a moment. Trish, I see that you have your hand up, but I think that might have been because you answered a question when they were saying raise your hand for things. I wanted to point out that when Linda and Kelly are asking questions, you might use the yes and no button to respond to that, because then it doesn't interfere with us hand raising. And then also because it gives a quick total. We can all see like how many people said yes and how many people said no, which is interesting to be able to see. So Lynette, why don't you go ahead and ask your question? You know what, we are not hearing you. And I'm showing that you're unmuted, but we can't hear anything. Do you want to type your question in real quick, and I can ask him?
We can play charades.
Yeah.
As we say, you guys bear with us. This is the first session of its kind for HawkSoft User Group. So,
well, while we wait
okay,
for her, did she type it there, Jennifer?
Yep. She said, okay. I see notification sound was checked. She said, we would love that. How does that work? Or how does that work? I think she's saying,
what does that do? Yeah.
Under the user preferences?
What does it do?
Enable notifications on user preferences. That means when a preference pops up or something pops up, you'll get some sound. I'll have to do some further research on exactly what that means. Again, notifications coming in. For instance, if somebody creates a suspense for you, maybe you get a notification on that or something like that. So,
Lynette just got really excited.
Well, I have to admit to Lynette, that's really kind of a new button there. So we're going to have to look at that, and we will email you guys on what those preferences are. But go ahead and turn them on. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, I've got one more thing for the keyboard. We are on a client file right now, and you know how you click on client or auto or umbrella? If you want to go through them fast, use your tab key. When you're on the policy and you want to go through the details, arrow key. That'll help you run through those just that much faster. Okay. Kelly, you want to do a little?
Yeah, let's just check back in. Does anybody have any questions over what we just covered? Any ideas, suggestions, something that you guys have discovered that you think would be useful to the rest of us? If so, raise your hand and we'll get you unmuted and you can share it with us.
And Taylor did share, she said that she hears notification bells when a text comes in. So she just shared that on the chat.
Excellent.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, if nobody has any questions, we're going to keep this moving. I know 90 minutes seems like a lot, but it'll go fast. So we're going to take a look at a few of the things that came in on the survey. Michelle, if you could unmute yourself. I know, surprise. Hi, Michelle. Tell us about the search feature that you would love to see that you sent in about regarding the producer agent info. Tell us your pain point with that.
My pain point is, so when you search for a client in the, you pick the name and you hit search, it comes up and just gives you the name, first name, customer ID, what type of customer, status, and office. I would love to see if the agent, the producer, showed up on that.
Okay, that's something obviously HawkSoft has heard a lot. So now Linda gets the fun job of showing you the new search feature that is coming out in version 5.0.
So we're
drum roll, Linda.
I was just going to say drum roll. Here we go. Here is your new feature search. We had to do a screenshot of that because I can't technically show you it officially yet. But I think there's another screen here. We're going to start rolling it out next week. So you're not too far from getting version 5. But as you can see, Michelle, you've got the person's name. Now I'm set up for multi-office, so this is just kind of a screenshot. I'll tell you which office. And we're now matching on any name in that client file. I don't care if it's a 3-year-old. If you've got them in HawkSoft, we're matching off of any name. So it's going to say what it was matched on, like over here, first named insured, or just a main contact, or the accounting contact, or what have you, if you're commercial lines. I think this is what Michelle's looking for, producer and CSR. Okay.
Yay 5.0.
And we've also started showing addresses on there as well. So if you have, 18 Linda Andersons, which is pretty common, you'll be able to zone in on it even more. And when you actually get this next week, do start working with it. The actual interface is going to be a little bit different for you, but it should be pretty easy to, you can either show them as collapsed or you can have them expanded. So again, kind of a user preference situation on that when you start working with that. Does that look okay, Michelle?
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Everybody hover over there, yes or no, and tell me how many of you are excited about that new search feature. Yay.
Yay, okay.
Everybody,
that number's going up fast.
Happy. Yeah, it is. You're right. All right, well, and we got this slight disclaimer from home office, because like Linda said, we're not always supposed to share things before they're ready, but this will be available starting next week, and you will get emails. There's a couple other features that are going to be really exciting too, but we didn't want to delve into them here. So just look for your email, what's new on your splash page, check that all out because there's some really cool features coming. But that search, I know a few people that have beta tested it and they think it's fabulous. So definitely something to look forward to next week.
5.0.
It'll roll out in phases. No, you're fine. It'll roll out in phases, right, Linda?
Yeah, there's 100 agents it rolled out to today, and
Okay.
100 more tomorrow, but general release is planned for over the course of next week. They usually do 100 to 500 agents a day, so it doesn't bog down our customer support people with calls. Okay, so we kind of roll it out over the course of a week. It is a major update to HawkSoft, which is why it's 5.0. So it's kind of a break, and we're from here on out, you're going to really start seeing a lot of really fun, good things there as well. So
Agent portal. I didn't say that.
Agent portal, yes, agent portal's coming there real soon. So
yeah, definitely pay attention to your emails because there's some really good stuff coming. Is Shannon on? I can't see everybody, but I think Shannon.
We do have Shannon on.
Hi, Shannon. If you want to unmute and tell us, you mentioned that one of your pain points is suspense. So challenge us and let's see if Linda and I can find you a solution.
No, I'm just terrible about checking them. So I just want to know if there's a way of monitoring them a little bit better to where maybe something pops up, kind of that forces me to look at it
how do you look at it now? Do you work it just from your
when
start
I have
page?
time.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm terrible at them.
Okay, so do you look
so
at
people,
them on your
coworkers will go, "Oh, I suspended this to you." It's like, okay, I didn't know that because I didn't see it, and
you're like, good luck.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of comments there for you, Shannon. When you click on suspenses here, let me clean up my my list here a little bit. We're kind of getting a little cluttered up there on the top. When you got your suspenses there, are you guys using the categories?
I think some agents do. I do. Okay. But mostly I just have mine kind of in order by date of importance. Okay. So do you guys prioritize them? I do. Okay. Well, you're good. She is a power user there, so that's good. So priority, because any one of these column heads that you click on will resort them for you. So now, another thing I do, because up until COVID, I traveled a lot, right? So I was gone for a week at a time, and I'd get really far behind, okay? So I would open up my suspenses, I'd click on my suspenses, I'd see 110 here and go, oh my goodness. So for me, when I did that, it was helpful for me to open up a second suspense list and just say, if I just get through today, I'll be happy. Okay. So you can go back and forth to these, and I used to play little games with myself. Do 2 from today, and then go back and do 2 from that I was behind on. So that was my motivation to watch through those. Another thing on your categories, get as creative as you possibly can on those. And I'm going to show you a couple of mine here. Let's see. Let's pull this one over here. Let's say now where we create those categories is in our customized list area over here. And it's called suspense categories. And get as creative as you want on those, because here's some of mine that I've got that I use when I do demos for agents. One of them that really has hit home is ask and review with Linda. So if somebody suspends something to you, say this is a suspense from a coworker, or something like that. Or I used to suspend things that I needed to go over with my boss, but he was gone. So I didn't want him sitting on my desk and stuff. So I created ask and review with Linda or Paul or Kelly or whoever. So there, you can't have there's no limit. So you can have as many as you want. You can edit them if you decide, hey, I don't like that description, or add new ones or delete them. So whoever's got permission, as you're doing your staff meetings and you go, I really didn't have a good suspense category for this one. Let's make up something new, and get really creative with those. Will that help you a little bit in doing stuff like that? Yeah. Any other comments? Shannon, anything else for you? Now, I can't call you up every morning and tell you to look at your suspenses, but I send me an email.
I should say, no, Shannon, check those suspenses today. So,
that's a service add-on.
Really, if you can start maybe just feeling a little more comfortable with how you're handling those, make those lists a little bit smaller and stuff. Now, one of the things I think that'll make it less overwhelming. Yeah, because this drop-down box is specifically for that. Because if you're going to be out next week or during a period of time or a specific day, what do I have time critical for that day? Let's go take a look, because I may need to resuspend something or get one of my trusted coworkers to take care of it for me for when I get back. Okay. Now, I want to express all of you to start using the categories. This is the first step to a really great enhancement that we're going to be rolling out down the road. We're going to be rolling out automated tasks at some point in time, not in version 5, but down the road sometime. And that way, automated tasks, if your task is, say, return of signed document, you could set up HawkSoft that says, hey, if I get a suspense that says return of signed document, I want HawkSoft to automatically send a text to that customer. and remind them to send that. So encourage your staff to start getting used to these categories because they're going to really come in handy down the road. Sound okay?
Hey, Linda,
Yeah,
can you
Kelly?
back up and just hit again how to set up the suspense categories?
I can do that, absolutely. We go into our gear. We spend a lot of time in our gear today, and that would be customized list, which is where we're going to spend some time here. And that would be called suspense categories. And all you got to do is click the edit button, and then you can add a new one, edit, however you choose to do that.
Okay.
You know, you might have a customer that's at high risk for something. Maybe they just got a 20% increase and you're following up on it and you want to say, okay, I better get to this one pretty quick, kind of thing there, or forward it.
Taylor's asking too, can you bounce back and show them how you showed the suspense for particular days? Like
I sure can, yeah.
Thanks,
just
ma'am.
click on your suspense button there, and that's your drop-down box right here, okay? And that's where you can get how to sort and view and manage those suspenses.
That help, Taylor? Okay.
Now, I don't know how many of you need this or if you know it's there, but under reports, you see that word suspense again. And if you put a little radial here, now this does take a permission from your HawkSoft administrator, but that gives you the ability to see suspenses the entire agency. So if there's 10 of you in the agency, you'll see a list of 10 people. If there's 2 of you, you'll see a list of 2. Again, being able to see what everybody's working on, what categories they're doing. Maybe you need to resuspend or close or something like that there as well. How many of you know launching, you can launch and go directly from the customer screen from here? You can arrow up and down through the list. I do that. Hey, quickly see what I've set myself up for today. Or you could close or resuspend. So really you can control this entire suspense list right from your screen here.
Something else to remember too, if you guys are, anybody's in a management role or just, it's a good way to check on your staff to see if they're keeping up with their suspenses. If you see somebody get really far behind, usually what I'll do is I'll just reach out and say, hey, why don't you drop off the phones or go, you know, do not disturb for a couple hours and get those cleaned up. But that's a good way to see kind of where everybody's at. Because once it gets to a point of no return, I think we've all been there a time or two, you kind of look at it and you're like, no, not even going to try it. So yeah, that's a good way to kind of keep track of how it's going within the agency.
Now, they did add a new feature a couple of versions ago that says, hey, you know, maybe these 2 are both done, so I can control them both, and I can right click on those, and I could resuspend both of them or multiples at the same time, or close them out all at the same time. Okay.
Now, Linda, we talked about this when we prepped for the class, but Lynette, do you want to, what she's talking about, remember we talked about being able to suspend something to more than one person.
Oh, yes, and that is on the to-do list. Unfortunately, Lynette, right now we can't do that. You'd have to create a second or a second log note and suspend that to somebody else right now. But that is on development's list to do.
Yeah, that's definitely been requested quite a bit. So,
yeah. Lynette, we will get to that soon, we hope.
Right.
So,
look, we refuse to give out dates above our pay grade.
I'm not allowed to do dates. No, I get in big trouble with the developers if I start going, oh yeah, we'll have that on the next Thursday or something. I get in big
Everybody call support on Monday. No, I'm just kidding. And say Linda said no. All right. Any more questions about suspense or anything else you wanted to cover, Linda? Anything anybody does that they would like to share with the rest of the group that kind of helps them through this lovely thing called suspense? Okay.
Should we go into log notes?
Log notes. I know we got a lot of comments, and we'll just cue this up this way. I know some of the stuff that you guys surveyed back with is, you know, all the number of clicking, all the clicks that you have to do to get in, the clicks that you have to do to get out. I know a lot of complaints or pain points that I hear from some of the groups that I'm in, or they feel like they're doing the same thing over and over again. So we're going to hit on log notes and hit on some of the templates and nice set of shortcuts here to help you get through those repetitive tasks pretty easily.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just moving some HawkSoft screens around here.
You're good.
All right. So we're on a client file. Let me ask you this while we're here. As you're looking at this screen, if you were on policies, would your screen look the same as mine, showing policy, status, company, effective expiration dates and things? most of your screens in HawkSoft are customizable. So policies, personal, claims. If you want to make those look different, just right click and customize those columns. I had an agent call me not too long ago and says, hey, Linda, you know, I really like HawkSoft, but when I'm looking at the personal screens, I can't see their date of birth. And I said, well, just right click on that, customize those columns, and bring that date of birth in, whatever you want to see. Again, Kelly's screen when she logs in could look totally different than my screen when I log in. Again, that's a user preference. So what do you need to see to better do your job at the agency there as well? So, didn't want to forget to mention customizing those pages that you can do. Also,
can you move those columns around, Linda?
You can. Maybe you want office down here. Okay, it's down there. And now once you set that, it's set for you. You know, if Kelly logs in, she's not seeing the way I have things set. So she can set things the way she wants to there as well. So as we're doing a log note, remember when we hit, any questions on that? I guess I should double check. Nope.
No questions right now.
All right, so when we're doing a log note, we hit the enter key, and a lot of times we're using our menu, right? So what is it? PFI, phone from insured, log. I used my keyboard. We're going to spend some time on this screen right here. Now, HawkSoft pre-populates what I told HawkSoft was going on. I got a phone call from the insured. How many of you are using the description drop-down box here? I did it on client, so it's not coming up. Let me rephrase that. Go to the auto policy, phone, enter, phone from insured log. Here we go. How many of you are using the description area here in HawkSoft with a drop down?
How many of you are free typing that every single time? Okay.
Lots?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So
you've got your description here. Well, where do we get those descriptions from, right? So we get those descriptions from our customized lists. Again, we're going back into customized list here. Now you're going to see action menu to from. You're going to see auto communication. You're going to see boat communication. You're going to see client communication menus, and you're going to see commercial communication menus. The reason we do that is because the communications on each of those various lines will probably be different. So you wouldn't want to say ID card on a home policy, right, if you're working on a home. So you can set these up, and as you're looking at this communications menu, that's what's coming through on my description dropdown. So I can just pick something. And again, if you want to make it a, what do I want to say, a keyboardable, notice under N, I've got name, so I just type an N for that.
Hey, Linda, Elena asked, is there a way to do the customized list for everybody in the office instead of individually?
When you do customized lists, they are for everybody in the office. This is a global setting. Okay. Good question, though. Good question. Yeah, definitely a global setting there. Unless it's, Jennifer, I'll say if it's computer specific, just consider it a global, anything we're doing today, unless I specifically say it's computer or user specific. Okay, otherwise you can just assume that it's a global, all the way across.
And then Deanna asked if, says, where does the description show up then?
Okay, we'll finish that up here. We'll do that. So when I do the description, like a phone from insured, and I'm going to say it was related to a claim, and then I'm going to type in the notes about this conversation. How many are using any of these little buttons over here? If you haven't started using those buttons, and I want to tell you, don't ever be afraid to touch a button in HawkSoft. It's not going to blow up. Okay. If it's really serious, we go, are you sure you want to do that? Okay. So right click, left click, click on a button, and you'll be surprised at the things you learn as you're navigating through the program. The pencil.
Hey, before you do this, Linda, let's vote with a yes or a no. How many of you utilize the pencil feature right now? Lots of no's. Couple of yeses.
Lots of no's. Okay.
Okay.
So the pencil is, and Kelly, you can jump in here. The pencil is for predetermined descriptions. So Kelly, how do you guys use it?
What I initially did was I surveyed my CSR staff, talked to the ones that are on the front lines of the phones that do the repetitive tasks. What are your calls usually about? And what are you typically saying? Like, phone from insured, I checked billing, due date, I checked on the status of the claim, build a pencil for all of that. Because the luxury here is instead of typing a standardized phrase, you can click on it and it populates your note field within the log note. So the other luxury here is that you can see how that works out. You can select as many as apply, because I know people only call for one thing. No, you usually end up covering about 4 different topics. So you can click as many of those that apply, and they will populate that log note field for you.
Which you can edit. So contacted insured, talked to, what do I want to say? Talked to Anne. Okay, so I can add to this, but again, it gives me that initial. Bold. What if I highlight, what if when this comes back to me, if I've suspended it to me, or Shannon, with your suspenses, have your staff highlight and really make it pop. So when you get that suspense back, oh, boo, I've got to just hit it right there. I've got to do the intro to the customer service reps or whatever we're going to do. So we can do bold, we can do italics, we can do underscore, and you can make these bright, beautiful colors if you want to. That way, when you're looking at a suspense, I do that a lot because my activity note might be 3 or 4 paragraphs, but what I want my eye to go to when I follow up on it is exactly where I want to go. Like I need to get pricing to Michelle, or I've got to get conversion information over to Shannon or something. So that's what.
And Linda, somebody asked about the when's it best to use log versus communication, and just remember that every click that you go along that path is going to help build that note. So it could be one less thing that you have to type. If you go straight to log, then it's kind of a free form open. If you click on their communication bill or communication claim, anything like that, it kind of builds that for you. So you're a little less, you have to be a little less descriptive with your keystrokes.
Mm-hmm. Kelly, do you want to shall I hit OK now, or should we go into suspenses and tags?
I'd go for it. Go for suspenses and tags so you can see it.
So while I'm working on this, if I need to create a reminder for myself or a coworker, I'll put a check mark here. Choose a suspense date. When do I want HawkSoft to give it back to me? And who's going to get that? Me, which defaults to me because I'm the user, or to someone else in the agency, coworker.
I highly recommend giving it to somebody else as often as possible. But no, just kidding.
We're going to prioritize that, and we're also going to give it a category. And remember, we talked about suspense categories. We're going to create them, and we're going to get as detailed as we possibly can. Again, here, these are some suggestions, but just expand on those however you need to do so. Client tags are alerts. And there's many times, and I've got some alerts on this client file, Jerry's hearing impaired. I think everybody in the agency, when they log into Jerry's client file, should know he's hearing impaired. Another reason would be maybe I'm waiting for a signed document. You guys have all had situations where there's a divorce situation and you go, oh goodness, don't talk to so-and-so about such and such. You need to log or alert those client files. So you can give them a category. Now I'm going to go, while we're doing that, let's go into our gear again here real quick because I want to show you some things here. Back into customize list and client tags. Here we go. Now, did you notice these are in alphabetical order, which is why I'm finding them pretty fast? Okay, if you had to read down through all of them, client tag categories, those are in alphabetical order there. Now, as you create a client tag, if I click new here, no, give it a title. Let's see, Kelly, help me out here. Give me a title.
Title.
I don't know, what are we calling this item here?
Do an SIU, like currently like an SIU, maybe it's in Special Investigation Unit or something like that.
Okay, Special Investigation Unit. And that might be a red one, okay? So you choose what color you want it to be. I've already used red for something, so I'm gonna use black for that one. Now, if I want this black colored tag to not only show up on the client file, but also to pop when my clients open up, when my agents open up that client file, I'm going to click show pop-up notification when the client file is opened. And then when I click OK, so remember you got a lot of colors to choose from and you can call them anything you want. So get creative with those there as well. We'll just hit apply and OK. So back to our activities that we were working on over here, categories. We're going to choose that category And we're going to call this one a red one. It's an issue. And what might that issue be? 30% rate increase. Okay. Now, if I put a check mark here, that means I am the only one who can release that tag. If Kelly logs into that client file, she can't remove the tag. So I can control that. If I feel like, hey, you know, if somebody does the work and they get rid of the tag, it's fine. All right. So I can control who can do those tags. So we click OK. Now, did you also know while you're here, you can drag and drop any files in here as well? Okay. How many of you know you can drag multiple files in at the same time? Oh, I see Michelle got an O there. Okay. So while we're here, I'm just going to open up a folder and I'm going to say, I've got 3 photos here, right? Okay. I wanted all 3 of those photos to drag in at the same time. And I want them to keep the description I've already given.
There's an attachment.
What?
No, somebody else. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm holding my control key and I'm highlighting all 3 of them. I'm going to drag them over here and I'm going to drop them. Because I want the description to stay that I've already given to them, I am not going to put a description in here. Leave that description blank. And that way the descriptions you've already given them will come over. I am going to categorize them as a photo, should be photos in here, assigned for review, things like that, and click OK. So now we've got those 3 photos there, and notice barn, front view of house, and front view of house. So that kept the description. I answered that on a Facebook page not too long ago there. So again, multiples at a time, you certainly can do that. Kelly, you think of anything else on here we need to cover before I hit OK and we look at how everything populates out?
Nope, I think you're good.
Okay, so we're going to click OK. And our activity note, log note, has a clock next to it. Of course, that means it's open. Now, you guys do know blue clocks are future, red clocks are past due. We've got a paper clip. That's those photos I brought in. And it's suspended, and it's going to come back to me here. Now, somebody asked, where do we see that? Where do we see the description? It's right at the beginning, where it said phone from insured, log, claim, because I picked claim as the description. So you're going to see it up here in the top, okay? Right in that initial where we go. Everything else that we pulled in, the templates, the log note templates and things are all down here at the bottom, or down here. Okay.
Linda, let's take a pause for a second. Deanna, you asked about an easier way to resuspend from insight and action. Do you want to tell us what you're looking to do there? Is she muted? Okay, keep going. Oh, let's see if she pops back in.
You know, and I actually did have a separate question. Somebody else, Lynette, asked, how do I drag and drop when using parallels?
Same thing, from your local desktop right into the download box, the downloader. If you're having trouble with it, call support and get some support, because local to online should just be a simple drag and drop as well.
Okay.
All right, so I don't know if this addresses that, whoever asked about resuspending, but when I'm looking at this log note and I want to resuspend it, say I really don't want it on the 23rd, I wanted another date, I'll just come in here and resuspend it for the 24th. Everything comes over, account review, priority, everything like that comes over. So you can quickly and easily resuspend. Also, when you're on these log notes, if you don't want to open them up and you want to resuspend it, just right click on it. Remember I told you, don't be afraid, right click, left click. Right click gives us some choices. You know, do I want to copy this? Sometimes, have you ever had a situation where you want to copy the same documentation from one client to another client or one policy to another? You can go ahead and copy that log note over. Resuspend, close, add a client tag, things like that. How many of you are using the append and new log features? If I get done with a log note and I go, oops, I forgot to mention something, or I want to make a clarification, open that log note up and just click append. And that's going to be add that additional info here. Notice that's time and date stamped, of course, and we're going to click OK. We can do that there as well. Kelly, we are having so much fun here. I know we've got to cover some stuff in the next 10 minutes. Or, I know Jennifer's keeping track of our time here. We covered the tags. Another thing I want to make sure of, if I'm in the middle of working on something, how many of you know about Control-Alt-N? I've got a log note started here, phone rings and it's another customer, and I want to open his client file. How do I do that? Raise your hand if you know, or say yes if you know. Sorry. Anybody?
Yeah, there's quite a few that know, looks like.
Okay, so Control-Alt-N is going to open a new HawkSoft for me. Now that did open in another window. Opens up the existing customer I already had, so that I can then quickly, if I want to, search for another client file and take care of them too. So again, Control-Alt-N. Also, you're going to see a lot of places in HawkSoft now that says open in a new window, so that you can do that there as well. Because I think in you also see it open in new window down here. So, and you'll see that when you're doing Accord forms as well, open in new window, so that you can open and see that client file or look for another one if you want to. So always remember, don't want to hear you say, wait until we get done with this, what we're doing, before we can help you. So always want you to be able to navigate quickly and easily there as well. One on the log notes, searching. Anybody using this particular open field there? That is for you to quickly and easily search log notes. For instance, I've got, 7,200 log notes on that client file. So if I'm looking for claims related log notes, I sure don't want to read them all. So I can just type in claims here. HawkSoft is going to read all 7,200 log notes and just bring me the ones related to claims. Okay. So you could type in pretty much anything. That search searches everything in the actual log note plus the description of any attachments related to log notes. So really you can find things pretty simply and easily. You've got that same search feature in your attachments here, right here. So you can just, you want to see all the ID cards you ever did for somebody, type in what description you're looking for. Those of you who are seeing this, this looks a little bit different than the way you are used to seeing attachments. That's because I like to keep things more compartmentalized. So as we look at policy snapshots, that would be all of my downloads or manually updated. So I've got everything concise and together so that I can quickly and easily see premium, history, and as you know, HawkSoft calculates premium change and percentage change from any download that comes in. I'm in demo software, so I don't get downloads. If Kelly shared her desktop, you'd probably see, you would see those numbers there as well. So,
all right. Any questions about the log notes part of it? And we'll kind of, I know we're going to run short on time. I want to leave plenty of time for just open questions. Mm-hmm. Does anybody have a question over what we've covered so far? I don't see any hands raised. So let's, we've got a couple of different things that, and we can kind of pick the direction we go here. Some of the stuff that's on our list is kind of teaching or going through some of the underlined features. Is that something that you guys are familiar with? You can give me a yes or a no, and all of the underlines that are on the screens, do you guys feel like you're pretty comfortable with that, or do you want us to cover that? Okay, they seem like they're pretty familiar. Let's email functionality within HawkSoft is something else that we had queued up, and then we can look at renewal keys or reports, whichever you guys kind of type in there and let me know where you want to go, and we'll head that direction, and then we'll wrap up and go to Q&A.
Is everybody using any hotkeys? That was some of the favorite tips and tricks, wasn't it, Kelly?
Yeah, when you guys came through on the survey, it seemed like the hotkeys were definitely the most favorite of what you guys are using. As far as, does everybody know how to set those hotkeys up? Andrew, I know that you said you used one for, was it just a quick note on a file?
Actually, one of our favorite ones is just a quick email. And actually, hold on, let me quickly look for the other ones. A quick email, yeah, quick email, quick note, and then I recently added the updating contact info.
Okay.
Ah, that's a good one. So do you want me to, Kelly, you want to do this, or you want me to come back?
Go ahead and show them we'll show you real quick how to set up a hotkey. One of the favorite ones that we have in our office, and check with those of you that have a staff of CSRs, that the correction key is one of the ones that we loaded, and it's basically an action phone from insured, and it takes you right to the field where you can correct phone numbers, addresses, contact information with one click instead of 4 or 5. We did the same thing with the claims button as well. It takes you right to the claims button. So we'll show you where to go to set that up. Now there's actually another session specifically on the toolbar and the hotkeys that's coming up in a few weeks. So if you're not registered for that, I know they're all sold out, but look for the recording of that down the road if you want to dig into that a little deeper. But you're going to go to the gear. Everything starts with the gear.
Yeah. And then general configuration, action menu, customized toolbar. And you're going to see everything that's, coming down here that's listed across there. Kelly, let's do your correction one. So I'm going to click new, and we're going to call it, is the name of the button just correction?
Yep.
Okay. And do you have it, now tooltip is just how you're using that, like correct, what do you use it for? Correct client contact or something?
Yep, correct client contact information.
Okay. And then are you having it on not only on the client, but the policy? So wherever we're clicking, we can do that? Yep. Okay. Yep. And then what is your action again?
It's typically phone from insured. And then, I can't see your screen that well. No, it's, are you on policy tab? Or are you on?
Oh yeah, I better do it on well, we could just do it on the client. Okay. We can do it on policy too. So action, phone from insured.
You should have a way to get to your.
Yeah, let's do it this way. We'll do it under a policy. All types, we'll do all types. Change client policy. Is that what you click on? Change client policy. And then is that where you stop?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you use an icon on it?
Yeah, it's just a lock key. We're not sure why, because there's not enough icons to choose from.
So pick something here. Should I just pick something here? I
think it's safe to say none of our icons really make sense, but we know where they're at. So that's
yeah, we know what they are. Well, let's use this one. Here we go. And then we'll click OK. Now, that showed up down here at the bottom. So if I like it, great. If I don't, I'm going to move it up to kind of more with some of my other things that I've got going on here. These more of the hot buttons. So you can move these around so you're hot. Now, again, this is a global setting. So once you do this, one person sets this up, everybody sees it. So now when we've got, where did I put it? Do you see it in here?
I think you have to go out and back in, don't you?
Shouldn't have to, but we can. Did I save it? That might be operator error. I will be extremely embarrassed about that. So last name, let's go. Correction. Okay, we got correction. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we're on any policy now, you're going to see that correction is active. So when I click on that, it goes directly to that screen where we now can update those client files there, change that information quickly and easily there. I've got some other ones, certificates, ID cards, incoming phone, so that if I just want to do a quick phone call documentation, it just pushed me right on the log note there. ID cards, now notice the ID card's gray, because when I set that up, it is only active when I'm on an auto policy or motorcycle, something with wheels, where I can actually do the ID card here.
Right.
Again, recommend that if you find yourself going, hey, that took me too many clicks and you're doing it pretty repetitively, create a hot button on it. There. See any questions on that, Kelly?
No questions that I see.
Okay.
Oh, Jennifer just mentioned, she just sent everybody in the chat there. If you guys aren't aware of a resource under the HawkSoft user group, there's a resource tab, and it is a under the knowledge library, and there's actually samples of hot buttons. There's template libraries. There's a lot of good stuff out there, so I would definitely recommend that. We are in on the 1 hour mark, Linda, believe it or not.
I know, it's going fast.
So let's go. Does anybody have something that they absolutely want to ask us, that they want to take away from here, that they thought we could help them with while we're on this session? If so, chime in, unmute yourself. Anything you want to see specifically?
What was Deanna's fear of missing something?
Who had FOMO, fear of missing out? That was one of that was one of the pain points that we got. And then the other one we had was, you know, why log everything? Why so many clicks? Lynette, I think that was yours. Do you feel like we've given you some shortcuts to help you streamline your clicking a little bit? Okay, hold on, she's going to type something in. Okay. How to transfer data, VIN number, drivers to a PDF or an Excel? Linda.
Transfer drivers to
if you have a list of, if you have a list of drivers or a list of vehicles, how to get those out to a.
Are we talking a letter or an email or just any
PDF or an Excel spreadsheet?
Okay. I'm going to have to, we'll include a screenshot on that, because from HawkSoft, you can definitely export vehicles and drivers out of HawkSoft, but that's to Excel. That's a for sure. Now, if I'm doing it to a PDF, I would probably say, I would create a letter template for that. And I would just go into print. I am in an auto policy here. I would go into print letter, and I would probably choose, let's see if I've got vehicle list there anywhere. Vehicle list, and I'd hit OK. And it opened up in another window so that I could then print that PDF.
Okay.
Is that what Lynette's looking to do? And I could pull in, I could create a template that says vehicles and drivers, so I could pull them both and print them out into a PDF.
Yeah, and one of your, and we do this a lot with our commercial pre-renewal letters, is we give them a list of their drivers and a list of their vehicles to review. And that's when we set that template up, we import that, we insert that as a field. So summary report that shows all policies for just one client.
Okay, so click on client, and then action, internal print, and then you've got your summaries here, and you probably would do what I might call a detailed summary and say I want all active policies. Now you could pull in full client information. Let's pull in general policy information there too. We may or may not want inactive policies. This is where you create that working document to pull those summaries in. And then when you click OK, I'll just do it on my virtual printer so you all can actually see it. And that should pop up somewhere around here that I can get it over here for you. And I will make it a little bit bigger here. Now, if you want is that what,
that's what Lynette, is that what you're looking for? Okay, we got 2 thumbs up from Lynette.
Okay. Okay, good.
That was our official rating, 2 thumbs up.
Okay. Now, Lynette and everybody else too, I used to do this as well, which kind of made it a cover sheet. And then I would go into the individual policies and do that same type of summary, but pull the actual coverage details, the vehicles, the drivers, things like that as a supplemental to that. Would Lynette, you find that helpful?
Okay, if you guys have questions, throw them in there, or throw your hand up and I'll stop. But if not, we'll go through the list that you guys sent us on the pre-survey. Brandon mentioned that he has, yeah.
One follow-up. Julio had also asked how to do the list to Excel, the driver and vehicle list to Excel. You covered how to do it through the letter, but was wondering how you do it to Excel.
And I'm going to have to figure that one out because that one I haven't done before. But you can do it. So we will definitely get you guys back,
Julio,
along with screenshots and help on that.
Before we send out the final PowerPoint on this one, you guys will definitely get that in there for you. Let's bounce over here to the list that we had, Linda, from the surveys. Brandon said he has difficulty pulling stuff from HawkSoft. Is Brandon on? And if so, does he want to explain that? I don't see I see him on there, but I think he's muted.
Can Brandon type us a request there?
Let's show them, why don't we go kind of what we queued up before, where you go into attachments and how you look at attachments and then how you grab them and send them or move them somewhere.
Sure. We'll go into attachments here. And again, depending on how you're looking at your attachments, you've got your attachment description search. You can also group your attachments many ways. Some of you probably have it at none, which just gives you that big, giant, long list of attachments. So if you want to organize them a little better, just click on one of these ways and HawkSoft will automatically, resort things here for you so you can find things quickly and easily. I'm going to go with none for right now, just to bring up some things here. And Kelly, what did you say? Email directly attachments or something?
Yeah, email, or if you want to, if you want to take them to a desktop, I'm not sure what he's trying to do, but it just says difficulty pulling stuff from HawkSoft.
Okay. Now, if I've got this PDF here, and or an email or anything in HawkSoft that I want to send out via email, and I want to do multiples, I can just hold my control key down. I can choose whatever I need. And remember, there's a right click, and that gives you a lot of choices on what we're going to be doing with that attachment. In this case, we're going to email it out as an attachment. So when I send, I must have picked something. Oh, yeah, I picked an Outlook item, so hit OK. Now notice here, Kelly pointed this out to me yesterday because I forgot to mention it during practice. Notice we've got email and it says to customer. So that's all the emails we have on that customer, for that customer. Now I'm just going to add policy carrier. So these are all the emails that I have that I'm tracking as far as travelers go. So and I click that. Policy agents is going to give me the 2 agents that are working that particular policy. All users brings in everybody else in HawkSoft or in this particular database that I have. So when I double click on those, I can just continue to add recipients there as well. So now I could take away the customer, the policy, things like that. So who do I need to send that to? A lot of people don't realize that that will bring you that additional email information there so you can quickly grab it. So when we click OK, email templates. I hope you're all using email templates. It'll just make things a little faster and a little easier there for you. No template is going to open up your email program and you can start free typing your message. Choosing one of your templates like on a transmit ID card is going to open up Outlook, or in my case Outlook because that's what I use, and fill everything in here for you. Now and it shows all 3. It gives you the full description, so it doesn't change the description. It gives you the good description. Subject pre-filled there based on my template, who it's going to, things like that. Now a template is just that, a template. What if, in this case, in this scenario, what if Jerry had said he told me he was going on vacation while I was talking to him? I'm going to add, I hope you have a great vacation. Okay. Now when I click send and finish, because I'm done, I'm going to, that automatically creates my activity note and attaches the time and date stamp sent email to HawkSoft automatically. If you don't already have that checked in your download configuration, you may want to do that. I hate to see you have to go back to Outlook and drag it in. So you can set that up so it's an automatic attachment there for you.
How many of you guys utilize launching your emails from within HawkSoft, or do you tend to start them outside of HawkSoft? Okay. Did you guys know that you could reply from within HawkSoft to an email that was already sent? So I know that's come up in our office a few times. We're like, yeah, well, you can send from there, but what if you want to reply? Then what? So you can actually re-pull up that attachment, that email, and reply and do the same workflow. Linda, when you get a chance, Jill asked about seeing accords from all policies, even if not on that policy. For example, you need to see an application form, but wasn't on the commercial tab. So you go ahead and show her your stuff on that one.
Okay, so look at accord forms. Okay, so you'll go to attachments, and this little button right here is the key to that. Right now, I am showing just attachments for the home policy or the, in fact, let's go link over to a commercial account because that's more of a commercial question anyway. Let's go to our commercial package. And as I look at those attachments here, I'm going to expand on the PDFs because that's usually where you're going to see your application. The key to that is putting a check mark here, show attachments for all policies. And when you do that, that's going to show the attachments for the business auto, the workers' comp, the everything, all in one place. Okay. So now you're seeing attachments for all policies in one place there, so you can pick whichever ones you need. And
so when you make an accord, like say a 140, it will automatically save it as an attachment?
Uh-huh.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Have you done anything like that in HawkSoft?
I've always just gone back into the accord section and then tried to find it. And sometimes I'm like, oh crud, I'm not even on the right tab.
On the right tab, gotcha. I would come in here and do that, but you are doing your applications, like you're printing your accord forms, like click new. And now I don't know if you notice this, but I've got a short list here. I don't know, what state do you write in?
Oregon.
Oregon. So if you wanted to just create a shorter list, you can do that by categorizing your attachments. So I've got a short sample list here. So if I was just going to pull a 140 on that, I would just hit OK and select.
Okay.
All right. Is that what you're kind of looking for there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Sure. You're welcome.
Linda, Brian is asking, do you have problems with HawkSoft accessing Outlook without the HawkSoft Outlook open?
That is a support question.
Okay.
I do not.
Okay.
So that might be a setup question for support.
Diane asked about easier reports and how to customize them. How many of you guys are pretty into the reporting features of HawkSoft? Do you guys run reports on a regular basis, or do you stay as far away from them as you can? Okay.
Hey, Kelly, why don't I turn that over to you? That way you can show custom reports and how cool your stuff looks. Your customizing HawkSoft list.
She knows I'm a report nerd.
Yes. She is.
So I think the biggest thing to remember here, I'll get you over here, is to run these reports as wide open as you possibly can before you start summarizing and drilling down. So I'm going to drop over here to reports, and I'm going to go into agency intelligence just because this is where I tend to do a lot of my work on the management side. If we look at how you can sort, you can look at customers, you can look at them by any of these headings whatsoever. You can go by premium per policy, by premium. One of the first things I teach some of the agencies that I mentor is how to reconcile. Let's talk about what your report looks like compared to what the reports you get from the carriers, because that's a good indication of how your data is going into your system. Just remember that when you dig into these, double click on one of the number fields, and this first page is like, wow, way too much information. Utilize your summary to get to actually what you want to see. The other way to do it is to go to this layout screen, and you can see here how many layouts I have pre-saved. So if you're unsure, at one point in my history with HawkSoft, I deleted all of these because I kept saving like every time I found a new one and they got a little mucky. So all you have to do is actually go out here, from here, click add and edit, and you get an entire list of what you can pick. One of the coolest newest adds to this is the commission, for those of you that are dealing with the commissions. But go ahead and set this up however you want it to, as much information as you want, say okay, and once you get this where you want it, you can move the fields around here. And if this is what, I mean, look at it first. If this is what you decide you really like, look at your layout and save this layout and name it something. And when you have that, then that will save those every single time. You'll have that same layout. The other thing that you can do is you can drag these columns around. So if you don't, if you want to see the zip, or you want to come over here and you want to see what the account number is, what the line of business is, put these wherever you want them to be. But just remember to start broad and then drill down by summary. Even within a summary, if I go in here and do a summary by agent, I can then go into that agent and I can summarize.
She's just double clicking on the line item that she wants to expand on.
Yep, and I can just keep going. I can drill down to premium. I can go into these 10, and then, I mean, you can just chop this thing up in so many different ways. And if you're like me, after you get about 5 of them open, you get interrupted and you come back to it and you're like, wow, where was I? I go back to my base report and just start it over again, because it runs that quickly and it runs that easily. This is also a great place, these reports are a great place to figure out if your staff is coding things correctly. Just walk through this line up here, look at your policy titles. Click up here to sort by that field and look how many duplications you have. And you can go in there and clean those up. Like here's 32 autos, but are they auto business or are they auto personal? I can go right into this report. I can see who they are, what they are, and I can fix all those one by one, or I can actually do a batch to fix those as well.
Yeah, does anybody know about data replace? Do we have a session coming up on advanced reporting? I think we do.
There is definitely a session coming about like some of the things that the reports you need to know about within HawkSoft. And I think it's the end of October, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay. Any questions about the report that I can answer for you guys any further than that? I can't see the chat screen anymore. Any questions from anybody, Jennifer?
Well, Julio had asked if the system works best on the cloud or locally, and I was responding to him saying I think that you would find it depends. You know, for people who are on the cloud, it works great as long as your internet connectivity is awesome. But if you have difficulties with internet, then the cloud-based system is more difficult to run. And if you are working on a locally installed system, then a lot of that just has to do with your own hardware and, you know, and making sure that your hardware is up to date and, you know, fast.
Right.
And anyone else who wants to respond to that can feel free to jump in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there any other questions in chat, Jennifer?
Not at this moment. I don't have any other hands up.
So one of the
Taylor
other things
says he or she needs help in reports in every way.
Right,
so
I know.
My suggestion first is to go in, if you have not already, clicked on agency intelligence and get that baseline. What does your book of business look like? And see how, if you, I could look at it and go, does this look like your book? You know, see how close it is for you. You may have some cleanup to do. And we did a full last fall session was data cleanup. And Jennifer and Amelia have that documentation that they can share with you at any time, because your data is key there. It
is key. And I think some of the things to remember, and a few things that we wanted to mention to you guys, is if your reports seem really distorted, the first thing I would suggest looking into is your life policies if you sell life. Because if you take life and you put premium in the current rate or quoted premium field, it is going to feed into the numbers of whatever carrier you have listed. For our agency, we have opted to zero out life premiums, except for this one I can see right here on my report, simply because it skews the report, or you can give that carrier a specific name and you can allow the life premiums to stay. The trouble spot you have there is how do you annualize those premiums. So we tend to put the premium, the bill plan and what the premium is under just a log note so that it's accessible, and you can create a category specifically for that. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
And Diane asked, she wanted to see if there was any way to see last month's summary on a screen.
Last month's summary of what is it that you're looking for?
Customers.
No, and that's one of the problems is there's no more historical reports. There's not historical reports yet. You have to actually create them and save them. So it's definitely an area that we've talked to HawkSoft about, because there's a lot of us that manage that would love to have historical reports.
And that's coming. That's
yeah.
why you're starting to see a history tab on your client screens now. Kelly, go ahead and hit policies lost, if you would, please. Again, that excludes replaced. So do your date range there. This month, last month, this quarter, last quarter. So you can see historically there.
And this is a really, and if you guys, just to give you an idea, like on the monthly, what I do is I go through my policies added and I sort those by agent, obviously to see what everybody's doing. I don't do it. I just do like the current month or last month if I'm running late doing them. But one of the things I do is I go through here and I make sure that these are coded correctly. And it's so easy because once you get in the report, you can use the next field. You just want to make sure that your sources are coded. Like this is a new line. This is a new line, just to make sure, especially if you're paying producers on new lines and new business, you want to make sure that they're getting coded correctly. And you want to dodge those rewrites and make sure that they get coded as well. So the reports feature is endless as far as it's just a really good check on how you're handling the data. Sources is another great field to sort from. If you want to see where your leads are coming from, this is a great way to find out.
Hey, Kelly, there was a quick question on there about specific videos for training. Would you click on go to your home, your HawkSoft screen there, and in the upper right-hand corner, click on that question mark and go to training videos. If you've got new staff coming on board, these training videos are very specific, very concise. You've got different learning paths, fundamentals, intermediate, advanced, admin, accounting. The longest video is 4 minutes long, I think, maybe 4.5, and they're very topic concentric. So if you're looking for some specific workflow setup, those are available to you as a HawkSoft customer 24/7. So if you need, Brian asked that. Brian, was that what you were looking for, a yes or a no? Okay.
Okay. Now somebody had asked early in one of the surveys, and I get asked this after I do mentoring. Everybody knows it, and I'll show you this view. Your application theme, your fonts, all of this here, because everybody always asks me, how did you get that color? How did you get that font? How did you get that? Here's where you do all of that. You can simply modify. You've got all these choices. You can do these fonts, this size. Just remember that as you make it bigger, it kind of pushes it off the page a little bit. So be cautious of that. You can do that for data text, prompt text, and log text as well.
Show them what it looks like now on your client file.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I don't know. I changed.
She kind of went over the hill, over the top.
Not pretty. Yeah, it's
it
like
gives you an
Christmassy
idea.
and yeah, but it's definitely variations there.
Anybody doing that? Picking your fonts, depending on what you want to do? And that's a by user. So just because Kelly's looking at red and green there doesn't mean Linda has to. I can look at other colors. So I did walk into an agency's office once and they had hot pink for their log notes. So.
Hey, let's bounce over to Michelle, because I know we talked about this in one of our practice sessions. Michelle, you talked about archiving expired policies. Do you want to tell us about that a little bit more and see if we can help you with something?
Is that me?
Yep.
I thought I saw another Michelle on the list before. No, if it's what I'm thinking of, it's, I guess you mentioned it with the history. I'm used to seeing a policy, when we renew it or rewrite it or whatever, you could still see the history of every policy, every date.
Per policy, or if you rewrite them, you'll have 2 auto tabs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so go to your auto policy there, Kelly. And if she wants to see history on that, go to your attachments and sort that by attachment type. And this will help you consolidate that a little bit, I think is what you're looking for, Michelle, so that you could then go to your downloads. Company downloads. See how that's got everything in chronological order now?
Okay.
Okay. So sort by attachment type and then just expand on your company downloads. So the most recent one will be at the top. Okay. And then as you kind of swing over there, you'll see premium as it is now, premium change and percentage change populated by that download there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So if you go attachment type, that might help you out a little bit. Is that kind of what you, now if you need to look at a prior policy, like if you moved me from Progressive to say auto owners or something, you'd have to open up the Progressive policy to see that history on the prior policy.
But I can find it by going to the attachment history.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, hey, Kelly, while you're there, click on your GPI screen there and show them the most recent policy download button, because that's kind of a cool one that I think people kind of miss every now and again. You know how HawkSoft creates those tabs for each vehicle and things like that? And if you want the deck page view from the most recent download, just click it there. You don't have to go into attachments for that. Okay. Also,
did everybody know about that compare to previous as well? The compare to previous. It's an easy way if you guys are flagging renewals that come in for uprates. If you set that up in your download configuration, and you have, like for us, we have a CSR that specifically covers that report, then you can launch the most recent download and you can compare it to previous. And it will do that for you side by side. You can actually pick which ones you compare as well. So if there's more than one, let me grab one that has a little bit more history. And there they are side by side. So you can actually see what's happening with what categories are going up. And again, you can choose if you want to look at something, maybe you get an endorsement as opposed to renewal, then you can actually back it up and ask for the prior renewal.
Kelly, what if it doesn't download? If you manually update a policy in HawkSoft, you can still get that deck page view that's created for you automatically. But again, it depends on how much detail you put into HawkSoft to get that deck page view. Kelly can address non-downloaded policies there.
Yeah, and I did put, Jill, I know you asked about some of the non-downloaded. I did put that in the PowerPoint that we'll send to you. I just knew that it can kind of take us down a rabbit hole, so we didn't go there. I utilize the sales and retention report. And what I do is I look at my upcoming commercial renewals. So I go out here to my commercial renewals and I look at them by carrier. And the ones that I know are not going to download are the reports that I pull. We've gotten into a habit of we flag these for about, 60 days, 45, 60 days out. And when we want to renew those, we just utilize the renew button up here. The other thing that I'll tell you guys while you're working this is that if you look at these screens and you see the quoted premium in the current rate field, just know that if you don't have anything in the current rate field, HawkSoft will use whatever's in the quoted premium on your report. So while the quoted premium is really good for while you're selling in the selling process, make sure that you drop the actual rate into that current rate field once you've completed the policy. Do you see Deanna's question there, Linda? If a carrier does download, but not a lot of detail, can you enter in and not lose it when the next download comes?
That's an interesting question. I think, are you talking about commercial, Deanna, where the carrier downloads everything except inland marine? So you manually have to put in inland marine? No, HawkSoft is not going to wipe out your inland marine when that download comes in.
Deanna, I think the only thing that you have to be careful of, there's some carriers out there that they're not mapping correctly, and they do tend to, we pinholed one just a couple weeks ago, and we had to reach out to the carrier's IT department to get that fixed. But that's something I would test by carrier to see what it does. I think there's some settings too that tells you, can you tell it to create a history on download then, Linda?
Mm-hmm. You can,
in your
yeah,
setup?
It's in part of your setup under the carrier setup. You've got a lot of choices there. We should do an entire class on carrier setup again, probably.
I know, true story. The other thing, and kind of one of the things that, and I'll share this and then we'll kind of wrap it up, but the other thing that I did is I created for my team, every carrier has a customer file in HawkSoft. And all those memos that they send you about rates and changes, and everybody gets them and you throw them somewhere and hope you're going to have time to read them. I actually have a carrier file and I drag and drop all of that information into the attachments there. And I categorize them so they can, if they're looking for something like, hey, what was that information about that rate change or about the new program? They can easily go to any carrier file and look at attachments and pull communications from the company. All right, well, I am going to wrap us up. Any other questions that you guys, if we want to respect your time, we know Linda and I could go for days.
We'll just keep talking, so.
It'll just be the two of us on here, but we'll just keep talking. So yeah, so again, you guys, we really appreciate you guys joining us, and we appreciate kind of trying this new format out with us. You'll get the PowerPoint, the recordings will be out there for sure. And I think we're going to send out some surveys. We have thick skin. You can tell us how you really feel. We don't mind. It just helps us as some of these committee members. Andrew, I know you were part of the committee and you see kind of what we go through on the backside to kind of develop and get the material and set up the formats that you guys like. So definitely give us your feedback so we can continue to keep these valuable and relevant.
We want to get better. Always
Absolutely.
want to get better.
Jennifer, I think some of them are asking how you're going to get the recordings out.
Yep, they're going to be, we will do an email following the webinar. Within 24 hours, we typically send out an email that'll include a link to the webinar. It'll include the survey and then the PowerPoint that you've developed that we started with that has a lot of the details of what you covered today. And then we will also just post it on our website so that if everybody wants to go out to the website and look under webinars, they'll be able to find it there. And then also don't forget to check out all the other resources under the members only area, which don't forget you have to create a login to access. And that's it. I think we're done.
All right. Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
Take care. Stay safe and healthy.
Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.